Hello, I'm the real-life fake wizard. Netflix thinks you're stupid. Netflix thinks you're not even paying attention. They've built their entire content strategy around the idea that you're scrolling on your phone while their $100 million movies play in the background, as if they're expensive screensavers. Netflix content is the type of stuff you see playing in the background of actually good movies. And the thing is, they might be right about you not paying attention, but that doesn't make it okay. This week, Matt Damon went on the Joe Rogan podcast with Ben Affleck to promote their new Netflix film, The Rip. And during that conversation, Damon explained something that we already knew was going on, but now a Hollywood celebrity could break it down for us. He explained how Netflix actually wants their movies made, and I just can't say I'm surprised, so let's talk about it. Today's indie game shoutout is Big Hops. Tongue swing, free climb, and build your own path forward in a new kind of 3D platformer. Plant veggie bounce pads, tight ropes, hook shots, and much more. Find a way home through huge desert, ocean, and mountain worlds. And collect bugs, upgrade your backpack, and meet animal friends along the way. To learn more about this and hundreds of other indie games, visit our indie game discovery network, fakeportal.com, or scan the QR code on your screen. Now back to the video. Matt Damon says the traditional way to make an action movie, like the way he learned coming up in Hollywood, is that you have 3 action set pieces. One in the first act, one in the second, and one in the third. You spend most of your budget on the third act finale because that's the big payoff. That's where the movie's momentum is building towards. Netflix is encouraging their creatives to flip that around a bit. Damon explained that Netflix now wants a big set piece in the first 5 minutes. They want to hook you immediately because they're terrified you're going to click away. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing at all, because attention spans matter and attention spans have declined a lot in the last decade. You used to be able to give people a New York minute. That's less than 7 seconds. But here's what else the executives are saying that really matters. Quote, "It wouldn't be terrible if you reiterated the plot 3 or 4 times in the dialogue because people are on their phones while they're watching. Executives want the plot explained 3 or 4 times because they assume you're not paying attention. They assume you're on something like Instagram. They assume you're texting. They assume you're doing anything other than watching the thing you turned on. Hey, wait a minute. My eyes are up here, okay? No second screen viewing when the wizard is speaking." So instead of making things that are so good you feel compelled to put your phone down, they're designing content around your distractions. It's not a bug. It's their business model. And some of you out there might be thinking, oh, okay, wizard, maybe that's just Matt Damon saying things. Maybe he's exaggerating. Maybe it's just his experience. Nope. This has been reported on for years. Back in 2024, there was an essay in the N+1 magazine that explored this exact phenomenon. The writer talked about Netflix's casual viewing microgenre. And yeah, that's an actual category inside of Netflix. Casual viewing. Content that's specifically tagged for low engagement scenarios. Stuff that, and I quote, "goes down best when you're not paying attention." Breezy sitcoms, reality shows, nature documentaries, things you can have on in the background while you fold the laundry. Like Friends. You remember Friends? I think that's a great example of casual viewing. No one turns on Friends and then hyper-focuses on screen for 22 minutes, right? Okay, maybe some of you did. No offense. And that essay cited anonymous screenwriters who said they received notes from Netflix executives telling them to have characters announce what they're doing out loud in dialogue, for the people who aren't watching the screen or paying attention at home. There's a Netflix movie called Irish Wish where a character just says, quote, "Tomorrow I'm marrying Paul Kennedy." That's not how people talk. Nobody talks like that. That's a screenwriter being told to make sure the audience knows what's happening even if they looked away at their phones for 30 seconds. Another Netflix movie called Atlas was quite literally reviewed as being ideal for, quote, "half watching while doing the laundry." Like, that's what we're going for now, man. What are we doing? In 2023, Justine Bateman was on the Hollywood Reporter podcast, and she talked about receiving notes that her show wasn't second screen enough. Like, think about it. Not second screen enough? Meaning the show was too engaging? It required too much brain power? It might actually compel people to put down their phones for a minute? And that's a problem? If your primary screen is your phone, and Netflix is the secondary screen, they don't want the show to be so challenging that you turn off the second screen. They want it to just comfortably exist in the background of your life. like elevator music, except it costs hundreds of millions of dollars and has movie stars in it. This whole concept and just looking into it for this video is making me experience some kind of existentialism. Films and shows are not made with creators worrying about making the best thing they can anymore. They're more worried that you'll turn those things off because human beings are so attached to their phones, we can't find ways to convince them to put them down anymore. Okay, but let's talk about the data here because this is a business channel and businesses make decisions based on data. A 2019 study commissioned by Facebook found that 94% of viewers use their phones while watching television. 94%. A 2023 YouGov survey found that 91% of Americans use their phones during TV time at least sometimes. A 2024 study published in Springer found that 65% of viewers aged 15 to 54 actively multitask while watching TV. They could either make content so compelling that people feel the need to put their phones down, or they could design content around the assumption that phones will never go away. And they chose option 2. Now, there is some, and I guess I would say, funny business here. Netflix counts a view after 2 minutes. 2 minutes, that's all. If someone watches 2 minutes of a movie and then turns it off, that counts as a view in their metrics. So, of course, they want the first 5 minutes to be explosive. Of course, they want action and spectacle immediately. They're not trying to make good movies. They're trying to make movies that survive 2 minutes of divided attention. Now, there's going to be people in the comments that say, but Wizard, Netflix still makes good shows and movies. What about The Last Kingdom, which is personally in my top 3 favorite shows ever, by the way? What about I Think You Should Leave? What about, I don't know, yeah, Matt Damon's The Rip that just came out. That was pretty good, right? Yeah, and Ben Affleck actually addressed this in the same podcast. He pointed to adolescence as proof that audiences can still engage deeply when creators trust them. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that good shows didn't need to do any of that second screen crap. It's great, it's dark, it's tragic, it's intense. These are long shots of the back of people's heads. They could get in a car and nobody needs to say anything. I have not seen the show personally. These are all Affleck's sentiments from the podcast, but Damon himself called projects like Adolescence the exception, and Affleck's point was that these exceptions prove Netflix's assumptions about audience attention aren't universally true. The problem isn't the audience. It happens to be the model. The exceptions can succeed despite Netflix's system, not because of it. I mean, come on, look at season 4 and 5 of Stranger Things. Large swaths of critical runtime are relegated to over-explaining what is happening in the immediate plot over and over, that they never take the time to focus on the actual wider details that would have elevated the show. I did a video on this. I counted 99 key details that the show left unanswered and unsatisfied when the series ended. They could have used all those wasted minutes to tie up even a quarter of those loose ends, and audiences would have been significantly more satisfied. So what happens to storytelling when you design for distraction? Well, I'll tell you what happens. Movies built around constant reiteration will flatten character arcs. It'll drain tension. It'll remove the need for visual storytelling almost entirely. If everything is explained out loud again and again, then silence becomes a liability. Implication becomes a liability. Subtlety becomes a liability. You can't have a quiet moment where 2 characters share a look that communicates everything, because Netflix is worried someone was checking their email during that look. So instead, one character turns to the other and says, "I can tell you're upset about what happened earlier with your father." It's for reasons like this why Netflix movies feel disposable. There's no need to rewatch something that already explained itself 4 times over. No reason to linger on performances or imagery when the dialogue spelled everything out. And there's no incentive to discuss or analyze stories that never asked the audience to engage in the first place. You watch a Netflix movie, and an hour later, you can't remember anything that happened. And that's not really an accident. That's kind of baked into the whole design. They're not making films. They're making content. Content is consumed and forgotten. Films should be experienced and remembered. Netflix doesn't really care if you remember. They want you to just keep watching to the next thing. They want the autoplay to keep rolling. They want you to keep scrolling, baby. Don't think too hard. Open wide. Here comes another one. And look, this isn't just Netflix anymore. They're not the only ones doing this. When Netflix proved you could succeed with this model, every other streaming service took notes. Amazon, Disney+, HBO Max, Paramount+, they're all chasing the same metrics now. Retention, engagement, watch time, not quality, not artistic merit, not cultural impact, just did the person keep watching? Did they click on the next episode? Did they stay subscribed for another month? If we get you to watch a show that releases in 2 baskets, that's 2 transactions on your credit card statement. Cha-ching. And so movies and shows get optimized for algorithms instead of audiences. You ever wonder why streaming shows feel like they're padded? Why 8-episode seasons feel like they should have been only 4? Or as I often say, 90-minute movies? And even that's too long for how weak these streaming shows are. This is why. They're not making things for you. They're making things for an algorithm. And the algorithm, well, it doesn't think like a human per se, but it thinks you're stupid too. Now here's where things get a little concerning, and I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit dramatic, but call me Harrison Ford because I don't care. Netflix is in the process of acquiring Warner Brothers. If that deal goes through, one of the most storied studios in Hollywood history will be owned by a company that designs movies around the assumption that nobody is paying attention. Warner Brothers made The Dark Knight, Goodfellas, Casablanca, The Matrix. These are films that had something to say and trusted the audiences enough to go on an adventure with them. These are films that used silence and pacing and visual storytelling, films that rewarded attention instead of accommodating distraction. What happens to that legacy under Netflix ownership? Thanks for asking, I'll tell you what happens. The same thing that happened to Star Wars under Disney. The same thing that happened to Marvel when it became a content factory. Legacy will be strip-mined for engagement metrics. Quality gets sacrificed for attention, and the things that made those franchises special get optimized out of existence because algorithm said so. Let's play this out. Netflix takes over Warner Brothers. They look at the Batman IP. They look at the data. They see that people clicked away after 6 minutes if there's no action. So the next Batman movie opens with a car chase, let's say. And then a character explains who Batman is. And then another character explains it again 20 minutes or so later. And then there's a flashback that re-explains the origin because someone might have been texting their wife's boyfriend to pick up eggs on the way home during those first 2 explanations. God, we live in a messed up world. That's the future if this acquisition goes through. Like, that's what we're looking at. Actually, we're already looking at it. Netflix is doing that now with Netflix properties. My friends, I want to tie this back to something I talk about a lot on this channel. The entertainment industry doesn't respect you. They see you as a consumption unit, a subscriber number, an engagement number. They don't care if you enjoyed something. They care if you watched something. They don't care if a movie changed your life or inspired you to be the hero of your own story. They care if you didn't cancel your subscription. And this second screen philosophy is the logical endpoint of that thinking. Why make something so good that people put their phones down when you can just make something that accommodates their phones being up? Why challenge your audience when you can just repeat yourself until they catch up during a bathroom break? Ben Affleck said something during that podcast that kind of stuck with me. He called it a supply and demand issue, that creators need to make content compelling enough that people actually want to engage with it. And he's right. But that requires studios to actually care about quality over a handful of metrics. So what do we do about this? What are the takeaways you can have after spending 15 minutes with me? Firstly, be aware. Now you know why Netflix content feels the way it does. Now you know why movies repeat themselves and why the dialogue doesn't feel like real people are speaking to one another. Now you know why everything feels like it's talking down to you. It ain't your imagination. And maybe, I don't know, put your phone down once in a while. I know that sounds basic, but the data says 94% of people use their phones while watching TV. Be part of the 6% when you're watching something that's worth your time, right? You deserve to watch things that respect your intelligence. And if you can't find that on Netflix, maybe that tells you something about whether you should remain subscribed to Netflix. Close your wallet. Cancel the services that treat you like a distracted child. Support the creators and studios that actually trust their audiences. Buy physical media so you actually own the things you care about instead of renting them from a corporation that can take them away anytime they want. And then, of course, create. This is a big one. If the corporate entertainment industry has decided that audiences are too stupid and too distracted to appreciate good storytelling, then the future of good storytelling is going to need to come from somewhere else. Independent creators, small studios, and people who actually give a damn about maybe not so much craft, but real human emotion. Maybe that's you. Maybe you need to pick up a camera. Maybe you need to start writing. Learn how to tell stories that respect the people experiencing them. The corporations have made their choice. They've chosen metrics over meaning, and you don't have to. Until next time, create, innovate, inspire, and for the love of God, cancel Disney Plus. Yep, okay. Full send.